Hi everyone, old and new. Welcome back to season 2. I can't believe it. Season 2 of Lifestyle Etiquette Unraveled, a fireside chat series with global experts and opinion leaders coming from all corners of the world with one goal: sharing, inspiring, and educating everything lifestyle, etiquette, soft skills, and global cultural awareness related. I'm Juliana.
My guest today is a young fifth-year medical student from UCL who appeared in the most recent series of the ITV2 reality show Love Island. A brainy beauty, taking part in a reality TV format as such was a novelty. Prior to Love Island, she was on the front line during the height of COVID-19 and did not hesitate to step in during the darkest days of the pandemic, just to support doctors and nurses by working for 6-day, 12-hour shifts. As she said, the NHS has been really tough in the ICU with the long hours, but I find it so rewarding and it made me really resilient. Meanwhile, she's out of the Love Island villa and back to continue her medical studies whilst working on a campaign for vaccines for 16 to 17-year-olds. Her goal is to be an orthopedic surgeon, specializing in muscles and bones, and to encourage more women to enter a male-dominated field. Let's welcome the remarkable young lady, Priya Gopaldas. Hello, Priya.
Juliana, how are you? What an introduction.
Thank you.
So kind.
That's nice of you. Thank you. How are you? How are you doing?
I'm really well, actually. I mean, life has been busy since I come out the villa. But yeah, I'm taking it in my stride and yeah, I'm very happy.
Very nice, very nice. I'm glad you are here. I hope you didn't ditch any lectures.
No, I haven't today. I've actually got the morning off, thankfully.
Thank you. Priya, let people know who you are because we just have, these 15 seconds or 1 minute clip from you. And I want the world, at least from this side of the world, to know who is Priya.
Yeah, so I mean, your introduction was great. But yeah, I'm a fifth year medical student. I'm from London. I study in London. And yeah, I went onto a little TV show called Love Island over summer. And this year has just been absolutely mental for me in terms of, COVID, working on ICU wards, having to balance that with medical school and then having to balance that with going away for summer on to Love Island and doing something totally different.
Yes.
And also managed to run my first ultra marathon this year.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm a keen runner, always have been.
Yes.
I've always wanted to run an ultra marathon, and I see myself running many more. But yeah, I bit the bullet and ran my first one this year. So yeah, it's been a busy year, very hectic.
That's interesting. You mentioned also the marathon. How was the situation on the ICU?
So ICU, that was late night. So I chose to do, so what they did was they were understaffed at the hospital. And so they asked if any of the older medical students would be willing to help out. And I
Yes.
thought, this is a once in a lifetime thing that's happening with COVID.
Absolutely.
And it was
Hopefully.
and the fact that I had the skills to be able to help other people, I
Yes.
thought I would have to step up and do my part. So I decided to throw myself into the deep end, and I did the 12-hour night shifts.
Interesting.
And so over February and March, I was doing quite a lot of those and trying to balance that. with the
Impressive.
with medical school in the daytime. So
Impressive, Priya, impressive for such a young woman as you are. But then that's exactly the question, and I'm sure many people ask you this question. Why does a medical student go to Love Island? What made you do that? And what were you expecting to achieve?
yeah, well, I mean, I was obviously single at the time, and I wanted to represent people who are underrepresented on reality TV. So that is people who are Indian, people who aren't super curvy or like cosmetically enhanced, and also people who have spent time in education. I've spent years and years in education, and I feel like you don't get a lot of people like that on
Yes,
reality TV shows,
yes.
especially shows like Love Island.
Wow. Wow. You really represented another group that is actually underrepresented, isn't it? Often on Love Island.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, even Indian people, like you don't get a lot of us. Like there's so many British Asian people in the UK, but you
Yes,
barely see them on TV. And so I
exactly.
felt like I had to, I'm very confident in myself, so I felt like I'd be ideal to, represent a lot of people who you don't really see much of. On
Wonderful. You always take the challenge. And that's the next question, actually. You've been really taking another challenge, an extreme situation during a pandemic, being in the ICU, to the other extreme situation, another challenge, different type of challenge, going to Love Island. How did you manage all these challenges?
I mean, it was totally different. Like you
Yes,
went from one end, like being COVID ICU, where you were following, like you had loads of rules to do with COVID that you had to follow
yes,
strictly.
yes,
Like that was at the forefront of your mind. It was all like that was all you were thinking of was COVID. And then during my summer went out to Love Island, where you were in this bubble of people, and you didn't really think about life on the outside, or like you didn't think about COVID at all. So it was something that was, yeah, there were two extremes, but actually
exactly.
I feel like I was able to adapt pretty quickly. I feel like I've been able to do that, in terms of 1 minute I'll be like spending hours in the library at like for medical school, like studying,
Yes,
and then the
yes,
next minute I'll be at the gym or like out running. And I feel like I'm used to doing that. I'm used to that like lifestyle where I'm doing two totally
yeah,
different things. And
yes.
so for me, that wasn't the most difficult part, doing the two, like going from one extreme to the other. I think the most difficult part for me was, walking into the villa at such a late stage and not knowing anyone,
Exactly.
and then having to like compete in lots of challenges uh,
Yes,
that were totally out of my comfort zone.
absolutely.
I had
Out
to
of your comfort zone.
Yeah,
Yes,
totally. And I had to like dance and in front of the boys wearing this like nurse's outfit, and like,
yes,
and like just the fact that I had to compete against other girls for like
exactly.
boys' attention. And I was something that I would never usually do,
I
but
believe you.
it was
Yes.
a challenge, and I'm really glad I did it.
And you always take any challenge, you've proved that. And there are so many people who really have difficulties to get out of their comfort zone, and you did that many times.
Thank
But then
you.
the other thing, you were talking about exactly the group that is underrepresented, and you did that. Knowing that you are filmed, Priya, did you have that self-awareness of, how to carry yourself, especially talking about, being British, but with that international background? How were you aware of that the whole time, how to carry yourself?
So actually, when I was filming, I sort of forgot that there were cameras there, and I forgot that I was wearing a microphone the
Yes,
entire time. So when I was chatting to people, I just chatted to them as I normally would. But I feel like, my values growing up that come from my family, and that come
yes,
from me going to my like all girls school that I went to, and
yes,
those sort of values have like I carried with me into the villa. And so
yes.
I was always just being myself completely. I wasn't like trying to, hold back or like,
Or
give
play a
too
role.
much. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly, or play a role. Because I feel like that the cracks would start to show if you tried to do that, if you tried to
correct,
be someone who you weren't. But I
correct.
feel like, yeah, me growing up, in, with with the values that I did. So my parents are obviously Indian and they come from quite a traditional background.
Yes.
I'm obviously British. I was
Yes.
born in the UK, and
Yes.
so I've got like a mix of the two. Like I've got cultural awareness of both the British culture and the Indian
Yes.
culture, and I feel like
Wonderful.
that definitely helped me in the villa, where I brought my values, my traditional values in, but also my sort of more modern British values, and that's how I felt like I conducted myself, as like a mix of the two.
Very well said. Very well said. Wonderful. And now I'll come back to that because I want to dig deeper. But before we get there, I mean, we are all quite inquisitive. How is this villa life? Are there any misconceptions to unravel? Is it like just the, I don't know, glamorous champagne every day, whole day, just being in your swimsuit and laying at the pool? Or are there any secrets for the villa life is?
I mean, firstly, there's no champagne, unfortunately. We have like a glass and a half of wine every evening. Um, and so yeah, no champagne. But yeah, I mean it was a great sort of lifestyle, who doesn't want to live in a luxury villa with like a group of your friends, like drinking, like what well, we were drinking water during the daytime,
Relax. Yes.
like staying hydrated, and just enjoying like talking to other people. There was also a gym there and a pool. But yeah, I think maybe, I mean, some things that people don't tend to know is that there's no clock in the villa.
That is interesting.
Yeah, so you have no idea what the time is. And so you
Yes.
would try to work it out by where the sun was in the sky.
Yes.
Um, and so, yeah, we had no idea what the time was, no idea what the day of the week or the
Not
date was.
even the day.
Yeah, so people that had been in there for longer, they
Yeah.
had no idea. So when we would come in, we would say, "Oh, it's a Friday today," and they would realize, they were like, "Oh God, I've been in here for like 5 weeks," or
This is
that kind of
crazy.
thing. Yeah, and like yeah, things like that. So I mean, there was only one shower between us, all of us girls. So definitely had to use like time management
Yes.
skills.
Yes.
When going for a shower, we have to like plan, right, at this time I'm gonna go for a shower, and then I've got this amount of time to do my hair and makeup.
Yeah.
um, but I mean, it was a challenge, but I mean, I enjoyed it. The fact that we only had like an hour and a half to get ready, um, for the evening, all had only one shower to share. So I mean, it was a
Yeah.
challenge getting ready, but it was one that I was happy to do.
And good for life skills. Actually, interesting you mentioned that because I'm sure many people do not know that. All these time management, organizing yourself, not knowing even which day it is. These are things you are thrown in and you just have to function
Yeah,
and get along.
yeah, it was something that was totally like new to me. It took me like out of my comfort zone, and it's sort of like
Exactly.
the villa is like a bubble. You're in like a whole different universe to like the
Yes.
rest of the world. You're not really
Yes.
aware of anything else. And so that in itself is like a totally different experience. And so when you see it on TV, you sort of think, oh, they're just like friends in a villa, or like
Exactly.
looking for love in a villa. But actually it's like a whole different thing, where it's like a weird, like unique experience where you're in a totally like parallel universe almost.
Absolutely. And talking about, time management, organizational skills, how did soft skills help you manage relationships or even build relationships? And as you mentioned, you came in, to a later time and you are entering into a place where, yeah, groups has been established and you have to somehow fit in without knowing how long you will be in there. How did soft skills help you build relationships with personalities that are different socioeconomic background, different socioeducational background? So how did these skills help you, navigate your way and build relationships?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, interpersonal skills are so important, because when you're
Yes.
being thrust into a situation where relationships are forming and you don't want to like step on any toes, but at the same time, you've got to like you're in there to find love. It's really
Ex-
hard got to be super like empathetic and
Yes.
sensitive, and aware of how everyone else is feeling, in addition to like self-awareness and being aware of
Yes.
what you're feeling. And it's really hard to like balance the two. I also felt like I had to be like, more like more open-minded and sort of, and that was so important because people in there are from totally different walks of life. Like I would never,
Exactly.
I would never have bumped into them, even though we're all British and from the UK. We all share
Yes.
that in common.
Yes.
Uh, but they were from like totally different areas of the country. They grew up totally differently. And so
Correct.
it was amazing to meet them all, because I actually learned so much from them. And I hope they learned something from me as well.
Yes, I would like to hear maybe if you can share the story we talked about offline, your relationship to Jake and what you learned from him, and hopefully he from you as well, even though you have a complete different background. Could you share with us?
Well, yeah, I mean, so Jake was a good friend in the villa, and one day we were just chatting, and I'm totally inspired by Jake because we are the same age, but
Yes,
he left education pretty early on, which is totally different to me because I'm still
yes,
in education right now.
yes,
And I think so. He started working as a water engineer, and he has been working really hard, I think, since he was about 16. And he is now earned enough money to put a deposit on a house. And
yes.
he's only 23. And I
Same
mean,
age.
I'm nowhere near that stage. So, I mean, it's because everyone would say, oh, Priya, you're really intelligent, you're really smart. But actually, I feel like there are totally different types of intelligent. Like he is, he's more like life skills
Yes,
smart, and I'm
yes.
probably more like book smart.
Book smart.
Um, yeah, and I think there's no, neither one is better. And so I think I really understood that when I was in the villa and I learned
Yes,
that. um and I mean, the islanders in there, they would always ask me things, like things about science, because
yes,
I was a medical student. So they'd ask like crazy questions, like, why is the sky blue? And
yes,
I'd have to be really creative when answering them, because usually if I was talking to another one of like my friends, my like home friends,
yes,
who all went to the same school as me, are all like studying at university, I would give them like a really scientific, in-depth answer. But when I was out there, I had to learn to be a bit more like imaginative and like creative. So I was saying how, like, because like, why is the sky blue? So that's to do with like, the wavelengths of light.
yes, yes,
Like some are scattered more than others, and so
yes,
blue has a shorter wavelength than like red light, and that's why it
yes.
scatters more. And so to explain that, I was talking about how, imagine like Liam is a red wavelength. You wouldn't see
Correct.
much of him in the sky because Liam
Yes,
is a really tall islander,
yes, correct.
whereas opposed to Jake, who is a shorter islander.
Yeah,
And so I'd use that sort of analogy, and I had to be really creative in my explanations. um, which
that's
yeah which
beautiful.
yeah, I learned so much just doing that kind of thing. It was
That's great. That's also a communication skill. Knowing,
absolutely.
how to explain things according to whoever you are dealing with. Wonderful. And Priya, I know you are no stranger to globe traveling, and I would really like to promote global cultural awareness. You mentioned that at the beginning, especially having also an international background. What role does global cultural awareness play in your life, but also when encountering people from, different places, different countries, different food, different thinking?
Mhm. Well, I definitely think the fact that I've traveled a lot has helped me to understand cultures more and have that acceptance of why people behave the way that they do.
Exactly.
Which is so important, because some people, when they're celebrating from certain cultures, they'll be really like loud and extroverted,
Yes.
whereas other people will be
Yes.
quite quiet when they're
Yes.
doing the exact same thing, but that's their cultural upbringing. And I feel like it's so
Exactly.
important, because people might say, oh, that's weird, but actually I think it's wonderful how we have all these differences. And
Exactly.
it teaches us to be more like open-minded and like accepting of different people. And so yeah, traveling and like global and cultural awareness is so important when going into situations like this. and even in my career as a medical student, meeting people
Yes. Yes.
that come into the hospital, you have to be able to understand them, and
Well
understand
said.
their cultural like upbringing.
Well said, Priya. Well said. And thank you so much for also promoting that and giving the awareness, and hopefully also, people should embrace that we are living in a world where a geocentric mindset is what should be the case, and not, like the example with the two finalists in tennis. These are two young women. I'm talking about Emma, who were actually in this final representing 7 countries. And that's how it should be. It's really nice you mentioned that. Very, very well said. Now, I mean, reflecting back, we still have COVID, but reflecting back to last year, many students around the world had to go to remote learning. Some couldn't. Some countries couldn't even do remote learning. How was your educational experience? And I mean, some still have it.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously during COVID, during the peak of the pandemic, they took medical students out of hospital and
Yes,
made us learn remotely, because
remotely.
obviously we would present higher risk. We could be carrying COVID and pass
Yes,
on to someone really vulnerable in the hospital, which would like be really bad. So they obviously took us out of hospitals,
yes,
all of our learning online. But then, so it was strange because I was doing all of that, but then I actually felt like I was learning
yeah,
while working in the hospitals,
yes,
because I was actually working on the ICU wards at the same time. And so, I mean, me working on the wards, I learned more practical skills, like cannulating, that
yes,
type of thing, like taking a blood gas. And so, yeah, I mean, it was like a new way of learning, because usually in your clinical years, you're out of hospital,
exactly.
like
Yeah,
you're out in hospital, sorry. You're
yes,
you're like you're there talking
practical,
to
yes,
patients, communicating with patients, like seeing them in the flesh and like examining them. Whereas having to do that at home and do that remotely, you can't really replicate that. So it was really challenging, but looking at the positive, now we're back in hospitals, which is
yeah.
so grateful for.
Very interesting, your insight. But Priya, which lesson have you learned through, the experience you've made on Love Island? And what can you, if someone else, all these young people are planning to go to Love Island, what would you advise them? And also for yourself, what did you learn about this time and also about yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that before you go onto the show, and before you're in any sort of like limelight, you should make sure that you know who you are and what you stand for. You've got to know your like values, and you've also got to have like an unwavering amount of self-confidence and
Indeed.
self-belief, because there are so many like people who are out there who are constantly criticizing you,
Yes.
whether that's your body or your personality or anything about you. And if you're slightly insecure, then
Yes.
it can really affect you. Especially, with social media, there are so
Exactly.
many internet trolls, and it's so unfortunate. But trolling is inevitable, because even if you are perfect, people
Yes.
will still find something to criticize you on.
Exactly. People will always judge. And that self confidence or a supporting system is something you need, especially young ones, before entering in. What a good advice. How can someone, people may ask, how can I be self confident?
You know what? I think it's something that comes from within. It's like just a feeling of knowing that you're great, you're incredible, and, believing in yourself. I mean, it's really hard to have that in a world where we are constantly criticized and
Yes.
constantly compared to other people. It's so, so hard to have that. But if you surround yourself with people who are constantly, supporting you,
Yes.
like encouraging you and empowering you, I
Yes.
think the amount like of self-confidence is achievable in everyone.
Wonderful. Beautiful, Priya. Priya, what's next in your young year? What's next? What's on the horizon?
Oh, well, it's going to be a busy rest of the year. So I'm still at medical school. That's my number one priority. I'm doing that full time.
Yes.
And then also working with a lot of like fashion and fitness brands as well. I've had so many opportunities to work with brands I absolutely love.
Yes.
Even
I-
like, yeah.
That's good. Actually, I think you fit wonderfully in fitness, sports, health, wellness area. Can you imagine going into that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely want to go into like use my education,
Yes,
medical student to empower people. So I want to go down, the health and fitness route.
correct.
I'm a really keen runner, so I definitely want to be using my exposure to promote that and to encourage younger people to run,
Very good.
encourage people to be healthy. And so yeah, I've also done a few cheese campaigns and a few like other TV stuff. Uh,
Yes.
like one like investigative piece actually on TV, which is coming out in a couple of weeks.
Oh, wonderful.
That was really interesting to film.
Exciting.
Yeah, and so I kind of want to. Yeah, I'm just doing a couple of different things at the
Yes.
minute. But yeah, I'm really excited for what the future
Are,
holds.
are you in the discovering process? Will you say you are in the discovering process?
Yeah, exactly. I know what I stand for and I know what I like, and so I want to make sure that if I jump into something really big,
Yes.
that I know it will represent me well, and like it will be perfect for me.
Yes.
So
And authentic, and being authentic.
exactly.
Well, Priya, that was really great. A lot of insights. I love ending, this whole chat and interview on a humorous note, and have prepared some fun questions. It's really just fun for our leaderboard. The first question is industry related. What type of orthopedic surgery for joints was pioneered in the early 50s by Dr. Masaki Watanabe of Japan?
Well, so I actually know this one. This is arthroplasty.
Yes, very good. The second one, the second one is a trivia question. It's just fun. You have to guess. Yeah. Well, since you've mentioned Boris Johnson, is your celeb crush. When is his birthday?
Oh no! Oh, this is a hard one.
Yes.
I'm gonna guess. You know what? Let's say May. I feel like it could be May.
Close. 19th June. But did you know he was born in New York?
No, I did not actually.
I was surprised as well. Yeah, he was born in New York, Upper East Side, Manhattan.
Oh wow! I know he went to school at Eton.
And the last question is fast thinking. It's 5-second challenge question, so you just have to be very fast.
Ready?
Name me as many Love Island winners as possible.
Okay, so we have this year's Millie and Liam, Danny and Danny Dyer, and I think he was called Jake. Oh no, you've really put me on the spot here. Olivia Bowen and Olivia and Alex. Oh,
We've got 3 over 5 seconds. I will have to check as well. You could have told me anything. Thank you. It's just fun. Thank you so much, Priya. Really, I appreciate that. And I wish you all the best, Priya. The world is your oyster, really.
Thank you so much, Juliana. I've really enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. And I feel like I've learned a lot just from talking to you. So yeah.
I enjoyed that too, very much, very much. Thank you so much.
If you feel my topics about lifestyle and etiquette and all the vital aspects of soft skills relate to you, please like, subscribe, click the bell, and you'll be alerted every time a new video is out. Thank you. Stay tuned.